everyone. We'll call the meeting to order for Monday, May 8th, school board meeting. We will start out with our recognition, individual student growth.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us this evening. I like seeing all of these faces. As soon as we do recognition, there'll be like 10 of us in here. We traditionally start with individual student growth. Tonight we'll focus on individual student growth as well as collaboration. But we're going to begin with the Johnson County Spelling Bee champion. So could Miss Emberly Martin please come forward? Emberly Martin. Emberly represented CBIS at the Johnson County Spelling Bee and came in first. Congratulations, Emberly.
My mom and my dad are sitting over there kind of in the middle. My winning word for the county spelling bee was mortgage.
Congratulations, that's a great job.
We want a picture. Congratulations, and congratulations to her family as well, and her school. I know I saw Cheryl and some other, yes, over here as well. Franklin Community Middle School. Could the members of the middle school student journalism team and Mrs. Katie Songson please come forward? Congratulations to Mrs. Katie Songson and the middle school student journalism team. Their latest issue of the Paw Post took home second place in the Scholastic Press Journalism Education National Competition for middle school programs. Please join me in giving them a round of applause on their great work.
Hello, I'm Ms. Songson and I teach writing here at the middle school, both 7th and 8th grade. I've done the announcements program here for 5 years. And last year I had a couple students at the end of the year last year be interested in starting a newspaper this year. And I was like, all right, like that's a big undertaking, but if you guys really want to do this, come to me with some ideas and we can talk about it. And they did, and they were incredibly dedicated and took on quite the undertaking this year. And we have been, I wasn't prepared to speak, but we've been doing 2 to 3 issues every couple weeks, just reporting on school news. Maybe, I don't know if they want to say some of their favorite articles that they've written. They've done some teacher features and some investigative pieces and crosswords and all sorts of really fun stuff. And so I was able to apply for a 10X grant through Franklin Education Connect, or whatever our 10X grants are through, to be able to go to San Francisco to attend the National Journalism Education Association Conference. And so as an advisor of a program, I got to go when there were middle schools and high schools all over the country. And we entered you have to enter your latest publication, so they keep it fair. It has to be your most recent publication. And we entered in and we took home second place. So I'm incredibly proud of them. I felt like I knew we were doing good work, and that was just really validating that across the whole country there's not that many middle schools doing what we do, and out of the ones that do have newspapers, we are right up there with the best. And so they absolutely deserve it, and I'm very proud of them.
Hi, I'm Bella Whitaker.
I'm Addie Jeffrey.
I'm Sydney Stillebauer.
I'm Molly Loudon. I'm Addie Holman.
I'm Maddie Koval. I'm Sadie Wilson.
I'm Eli Demery.
And I'm Taylor McHenry.
And up there in the back is Mr. Ahaus.
you need to make sure that when you get to high school that you tell him you really want to continue this journey. So you go ahead and tell him that right now. But anyway, congratulations. It's a great honor that you represent our school and that your teacher got to go out to 10X, and it's Johnson Memorial Hospital is the one that helps us with the 10X grants. But it's just a great honor that you guys get to do this and continue to do that. It'll be a great thing. We need to get a picture, and I will give the rest of the certificates to your sponsor.
Congratulations. Central 9 Student of the Month, we would like to congratulate Sarah Henson. Sarah is our April Central 9 Student of the Month. Sarah is participating in medical assisting. Please join me in congratulating Sarah.
So I am a first-year student of the medical assisting program at C9, and this is really just a great class for anybody who's interested in medical. We do a lot of clinical tasks, like we give each other injections, blood draws on each other, stuff like that. We all practice on each other so we get human experience, and then we also do a lot of book work, and it's just a really good combination of both like hands-on and book work. So if anybody's interested, come talk to me. I really love my program, and next year I am continuing with my medical experience with internship at Johnson Memorial Hospital.
Commercial we've had in a long time. Well done. We're going to get a picture here.
Our high school percussion team. Franklin Community High School Percussion placed 15th at the WGI Percussion and Winds World Championship. This group was promoted to open class for the first time this year. If we could have the seniors who are representing the group to please come forward. Please join me in congratulating them. Great job.
Does anyone want to be a spokesperson? All right, Lucas. Okay.
All right, so we have been going to WGI for the past few years, but I feel like this year, out of the 3 years we have gone, is the most successful because not only did we get moved up to a new competitive class mid-season, but we also made it to finals as one of the top 15 in the nation. And I feel like that deserves some congratulations from these guys. My name is Luke Foyker. I've been doing this for about 6 years, and I'll go down the line, name, and how many years you've been doing this.
My name is Gavin McKay. I've been in the indoor program for 4 years.
My name's Alex Kimberlin. I've been in the program for 2 years.
My name's Lily Wilson, and I was in the program for 1 year.
My name is Mika Herring, and I'm here for 1 year too.
Congratulations. I'm going to send the mic one more time back down and tell us what you're going to do next year. You're probably going home, is that correct? All right, all right.
I'm going to Hanover for psychology.
I'm going to IU Bloomington to study biology.
I'm going to Miami of Ohio, and I will be studying emerging technology in business and design.
I'm also going to IU for nursing.
We're going to get one.
Congratulations, and congratulations to their support community. We have family and friends and parents out here with us, so congratulations to you as well. Teachers, coaches, thank you. We are now going to transition to collaboration and recognize some of our staff here at Franklin Community Schools. We're going to begin this evening with Support Staff of the Year for 2022-2023. If you're with us this evening and I call your name, please go ahead and come forward. From Creekside Elementary, Danielle Frazier. From Needham Elementary, Melody Miller. Northwood Elementary, David Wycliffe. From Union Elementary, Tricia Sharp. From Webb Elementary, Jonalyn Palmer. From CBIS, Viola Farner. From Franklin Community Middle School, Marjorie Buchanan. From Franklin Community High School, Rachel Wheeler. From the district, specifically transportation, Lindsay Bales. And from the district, in information technology services, here she comes, Maria Church. Congratulations to all of our support staff members of the year. Our winner this year of the Martha Baker and Helen Jewell Support Staff of the Year is Viola Farner from CBIS. Congratulations. Thank you all so much. Our Teachers of the Year for 2023 are from Creekside Elementary, Becky Cadwell. From Needham Elementary, Lindsay Spalding. From Northwood Elementary, Amy Bertel. From Union Elementary, Allison Clark. From Webb Elementary, Allison Comerford. From CBIS, Krista Roberts. From Franklin Community Middle School, Shauna Gant. And from Franklin Community High School, Eric Jenkins. Our Teachers of the Year for 2023 at the elementary level is Amy Bertel from Northwood Elementary. And at the high school level, Eric Jenkins from Franklin Community High School. Congratulations once again. And thank you also to all of our family members and support staff and colleagues and supervisors of all of our staff and our teachers and everyone. It truly does take take a village. It takes all of us working together. So thank you so much. Our retirees for 2022-2023 are the following. Lori Bell, in food service, 25 years of service to Franklin Community Schools. Jill Lazelle, Franklin Community Middle School, 19 years of service to Franklin Community Schools. And Jill Snyder at Needham Elementary, 36 years of service to Franklin Community Schools. We also this year recognized our outstanding subs. And if any of you in the room would like to sub for us next year, frankly, we have 9 days left of school. We would take you now. But we are transportation or subs. We'll take you. Come in and talk with us. These people are critical and help us make it through each and every day. Our subs for the year, our outstanding subs, were Heather Clausen, Teresa Cochran, Gwen Craig, Karen Friend, Tom Haywood, Donna Miller, Sharon Morris, Debbie Pinnock, Jeff Pinnock, Karen Weiss, and Susie Whitworth. Let's give them a round of applause. We all know collaboration is one of our guiding principles, and this group of people are key collaborators for us throughout the entire school year. So our PTO presidents, if you're present, will you please come forward to be recognized? So for this year, at Creekside Elementary, Nicole Sebeski. At Needham Elementary, Jamie Law. At Northwood Elementary, Heather Clausen. At Union Elementary, Carrie Coghill. At Webb Elementary, Nicole Seal. At CBIS, Jason Cole. And at Franklin Community Middle School, Alicia Sherry. You're the all-star. To end our collaboration component of this evening, there are a couple of other community partners that we want to thank for supporting us in other ways.
First, I'd like to recognize just Victory Christian Church and Pastor Josh Cadwell. Over Easter, they had a collection for the community, for people in need, for hunger and different things. And their church is donating $7,291 to help pay off student lunch debt. So we want to say thank you to Victory Christian Church for the great partnership and the many things they do, but this is just one small way we can say thank you to Josh and his team. Operation Extra held a euchre tournament, and they collected $2,500 to help pay off student lunch debt. Their original goal was $1,000. So we want to thank Deb Nally with Carpenter Realty, Angie Turley, Fairway Mortgage, and Lauren Davis at Denali Title. Feel free, please come up. And I wanted to highlight, Deb, did you notice the super subs were all former teachers? So if you do get bored at Carpenter, you can more than welcome to come in and sub.
Sure. When you find like-minded people, you connect. And the three of us were sitting at lunch one day, thinking, how can we give back to the community? What can we do? And I said, well, how about we do something, we help the schools with their unpaid student lunch debt? Like, what's different? What can we do? So we thought about a euchre tournament. 3 weeks. 3 weeks we put it together. Couldn't do it without Natalie's help, other help from other teachers in the district. But our goal for next fall when we do it again, I don't know, I haven't talked to you guys. My goal, $5,000? Mine was higher than that, but a minimum of $5,000 for next fall. So if you like to play euchre, we had a blast. And we had lots of community donations to make it affordable and fun, and so be on the lookout to come play with us next fall.
Thank you very much for your gift and partnership. We're going to get a picture. This is the best part. I usually give pencils out, and they say, Dr. Clendening thinks I'm sharp. So here you go. Congratulations. Yes. Thanks so much. Josh did not get, well, I will make sure Josh gets one. Yes. Well, that concludes the recognition portion of our school board meeting. And I know all of you would love to stay. We do have a business meeting right after this, but this would be a good time to exit if you're looking to leave and exit out. So thank you for coming.
Yeah, he's going to go Jones. He's still going to be the swimmer. Yeah, he's just quitting the Spanish. Yeah. So we'll see how
Okay, moving right along, we'll go to the consent agenda. Are there any public comments on consent agenda items? Okay, seeing none, is there any comments, anything to add on that? Any questions?
I would just like to highlight the Kuji trip. This is the second time we've been able to partner with Kuji Japan, and as of today, we've had 17 students apply for 10 spots. We are planning to go over fall break. So after the consent approval, we'll move forward to the next phase, actually interviewing the students. And it is a partnership with the local Japanese industry members, as well as the city and FEC.
Okay, any motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
President Nelson, just a couple retirees. We mentioned Lori Bell just a few minutes ago, but I'd like to highlight Emily Bradley. Emily has been the music secretary for many years. I know Mr. Wirtz had a chance to interact when his son was in the choir and different things, but Emily has kind of been the glue that brought all those partnerships together and made sure things happen. She is going to leave us at the end of the year, and I just want to say thank you to Emily for her many years of service to our fine arts program.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent reports. Budget calendar.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry about that. So believe it or not, it's budget season again. Yay! The schedule that you have before you is pretty typical for each budget year. We'll have the workshop in August, the public hearing in September, and the adoption in October. Any questions? That's all I have for now.
Okay, legislative update.
Yes. First up, do you want to hit the highlights for the budget?
So we ended up receiving a 4.2% increase for 24. I don't recall the number for 25. It was a lot less, maybe 1.2?
Yes.
Yeah, 1.2% for 25. So not nearly as big a number as you would think by listening to the news. So a little deceiving there, but for us, that's probably around $700,000 increase. So that will help in teacher raises and support staff and covering those operating expenses. They did put a cap on the referendum fund, and so for 24, the referendum fund can't increase more than 3% from the total received in 23. So similar to the operating fund cap, which is at 5%, similar cap for referendum. Supposedly this is just going to be for 1 year, I believe, but I wouldn't be surprised if it stays around. And then probably the most impactful one for us is 1499, House Bill 1499, where the if your debt service rate is above 80 cents and you would like to borrow money as a district, you would have to immediately go to referendum. So we have decided to manage our tax rate and get down below that 80-cent point before we borrow any additional funds. Anything else?
62%. You want to go ahead and touch on that one?
The 45% requirement for teacher salaries. We talked a little bit about how they were going to incorporate or they were going to add benefits to that, because some districts argued, well, we pay more in benefits than we do in salaries and vice versa. So for the 23-24 school year, the benchmark will be 62% and will include benefits. There was one other one that I was going back to. Oh, the textbook.
Dr. Warland's going to attend on that one for us. Dr. Warland.
Okay. Pass.
Textbook rental, as many of you know, the governor came out at the very beginning of the session with a strong statement to try to cover those costs for families. The bill passed. I want to be careful with my language here. There is a difference between textbooks, Chromebooks, consumable workbooks, and corp fees, which are items that students consume throughout the course of a semester. You're doing a science lab or a STEM lab or art class or an ag class or family and consumer science. There are items you consume, cotton balls, Q-tips, tape, those sorts of things would normally be charged as corp fees to students and families. Those are not covered, we believe, in the current legislation. I have a call into the state to clarify some of those components. We also have some questions about college courses and dual enrollment courses, but for the most part, there will be a significant decrease in what we send home in invoicing to families this coming year. It goes into effect July 1. So that's going to be an interesting journey for us as we better understand how the state then is going to help offset those costs for us. So this will be a year of learning, we anticipate, from the finance side. I will be bringing that information to you in June so that you have a sense of what that looks like, as I would traditionally do. We are also watching the Media Center bill. Natalie, if you would, on our website, one of the requirements of that bill, can you actually go back a couple of breadcrumbs for me? When you look at our district site there, if you look the third icon in, that link takes you directly to the document. Now, Natalie, if you want to click on that, that then links out to all of the catalogs at all of the individual school buildings. And so it's highly accessible for families. If you click on that link, you can go out, you can do a search, you can see what's available in all of our libraries. That's one of the requirements for that bill. We also have to have a process for how we bring books into our collection and how we remove books from our collection, both of which we have. There are some criteria for how someone might contest a book that's in our library, and some stipulations in the new law that may impact, probably will impact our current board policy. So we'll be talking further with you this summer and into the fall semester.
Two that I'd like to highlight on that. One of them is that once Dr. Warling gets notified of a book challenge, the next board meeting, we have to discuss that. In the past year, remember, we had a subcommittee, and then we reviewed it, and then brought the presentation to you as a board. That's one. The second one, anyone in the community can challenge a book. They must live in our community and or be a parent in our community. That's one of the stipulations that's actually in the bill. And the one that's probably the most startling, if you are the media specialist, is we used to have in there a defense that says for educational purposes you could not be charged criminally for bringing material in. That was removed. So if something were to happen that someone would challenge, they would say it's obscene, vulgar, inappropriate for school age, then the media specialist could be subject up to it's a felony for 2.5 years in prison if that were deemed to be true and they were convicted of that. So we've talked with Mrs. Silverman, and you know, I don't think that's gonna ever be an issue here in our district. However, it was put into the law, and that will go into effect on July 1st.
So would the person challenging the book come to the board meeting, or would we just discuss that?
That's what the process that Dr. Warland will come up with, but we will see their challenge in written form. They do not have to come in person to us. I would imagine that Dr. Warland and I will talk to them in that process, and then we'll go from there. But they do not have to come in person.
A couple of other key ones we're watching. Science of Reading is one we're keeping an eye on. We're involved in the state's literacy cadre this coming year at our 5 elementary schools, so that will be part of that conversation. The other key one that we will start a project on this summer, actually next week, is teacher evaluation. So the state has removed all of the current criteria except really one thing. We have to maintain the four options for evaluation: highly effective, effective, needs improvement, ineffective. Otherwise, we have local control. And so we have a team of administrators and teachers who will be meeting throughout the summer. As I said, we'll start next week, looking at that tool for certified staff, and I think our administrators as well.
Yep, everyone has that. A couple other bills of note. One of them is the anti-bullying bill. This one has received a lot of information here recently due to a tragic event that happened in Covington, and it was a bullying situation, and then Representative Vernon Smith brought the anti-bullying bill to the House. It was adopted by both Senate and the House, and what it says is that once we are notified of a potential bullying situation at our school, we have to investigate, and we have 5 days from that incident to report both to the victim and the alleged perpetrator's parents the resolution of what's going on. In addition, it's intended to provide safety for the victim. That is in the bill, one of the very first provisions. Another provision in that is that it makes it easier to remove the student and have them go to another school. Now, for us, elementary-wise, you would transfer to one of our elementary schools. But once you get from grades 5 to 12, it would be a different situation. And so that's something we'll have to explore, but it really does put forth a lot more action in terms of reporting to mom and dad both the incident. One of the things I think that's happened a lot is that people say, well, I can't tell you what happened, right? It's FERPA. This one says you need to tell what happened to the parents of what's going on. And so we'll be doing training on that with our administrators, but that one is one that really is coming to the forefront. Another one that Representative Davis carried at the House deals with teaching of human sexuality, and it prohibits teaching of human sexuality from grades K to 3. Well, we haven't done that, but this prohibits anyone in the state from doing that. In addition to that bill, an amendment that was made towards the latter part of the session and did get passed is that if any student chooses to go by another name or another pronoun than their given legal name, the school must notify the parents, notify a parent. That is how it's stipulated. I just conferred with Mr. Young before this meeting. I believe what we're going to do is create a form, and then we'll run it by Mr. Young, and that's how we will do that. That begins on July 1st. So example would be if my name is William and I want to go by Bill, then we would have to notify the parents that Bill wants to be called Bill, and we would send to Mr. and Mrs. Doty this notification. In addition, we have already worked with with Mr. Young in regarding to what if a student's under 18? Parents make the decision. We have talked about that in the past. That's where we stand. So if mom and dad calls and say, hey, his name's William, call him William, we're calling him William. And just so everybody understands that, but the law does say we must notify one parent. And so we will be doing that, and that's with regard to name and pronoun use as well.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Like at the beginning of the school year, I remember, and this has been so long ago, but the teacher would go through the list of students, and usually it was like, I'm Christine, but I would always correct her and say it's Christy. So are the parents going to have an opportunity to do that? Like if the son's name is William, that's his legal name, but they want him to go by Bill or Billy or whatever.
On our present registration, we do have a preferred name in that situation. And we'll confer with Roger as the rule gets promulgated fully. But right now, the law says whatever the legal name is what we're required to call. But like in our case, like, you know, Ethan's, we call him Ethan, right? He's our oldest son. His name's David Ethan. He's never called David, except when he wants to get mad at me and says, why did you do that? But anyway, so that we would still have to do that. So those are the things that we're looking at. It is going to be a lot of one-way communication from the school to the parent on that situation.
Seems like a lot of work.
It's going to be a lot of work.
Okay, thank you.
The last one I want to highlight is House Bill 1177. House Bill 1177 pertains to 40 hours of training for teachers for gun safety. This is one of the responses to the school shootings that have gone on, and the bill was intended to provide 40 hours of training, and then the teacher maybe could have the gun with them. Our board policy prohibits it, but it is a new law that it could go into effect. So I just wanted to make sure that's on your radar. I'm sure it will come up again, especially with all the tragedies that are going on as we see incidents happening in schools across the nation. There are a few schools, Jay County being one, that has that, and then we also have a neighbor close by, and that is Shelby Southeastern, Waldron, and Morristown High Schools, respectively. They have in their policy where teachers can go through the training. It's a pretty rigorous training, but just wanted to know that is a law that did get passed, and that was brought up actually today in our corporate discussion regarding that. Those are the bills we thought we would bring to highlight. There are going to be others. It was actually a very long session, a lot pertaining to the schools. I think you all know that I did participate in the violent aggressive student and trying to advocacy to get more dollars. Senator Crider's bill did pass, so we're going to have an opportunity for community resources for mental health, and that's pretty exciting. I think when you look at that opportunity and ways that we can come together with the community, and it didn't place burdens on the schools' shoulders, and that was a really good thing. And then I know our teachers are going to be really disappointed, but that bloodborne pathogen video that we have to see every year at the start of the year is no longer required. Part of deregulation, they removed that. Another part of deregulation that I do want to highlight that was removed is the requirement for discussion with FCTA or in a union. In the past, you recall, we were required to have formal discussion each month with our Teachers Association, and there were 13 areas pertaining to teachers and working conditions that we were discussing. By law, it's things like student discipline, working conditions, those type of things. Now, in our corporation, we talked about a lot of things during discussions. The state has opened the door and said discussions now can be with anybody and not one single group. That's a new change. And it does require that at some point in time each semester that we being the central office team, will have discussion with the teachers. Now, for us, I think we're going to continue to see that engaged conversation with our teachers. It's been great. We'll continue to do that. We talked today, and one of the things that Dr. Warren and I will talk about, but I think we'll probably go to each elementary, middle school, intermediate school, and high school once formally each semester and say, if you want to come talk to us about anything, come talk to us for everybody that's not in the union. And if it's more than that, that's great, but that will be a part of that. And then the principals will continue to do their great work inside their buildings respectively to engage conversation. But discussion was formally removed out of Senate Bill 486. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to action items. Are there any public comments on action items? Perfect. Okay, first one is Advanced College Project and FCS Partnership. I'm not sure. Who is that?
This is just from last time Mr. A House is here.
Oh,
if there are
yes.
any questions about, he's in the back. Mrs. Maddox presented about streamlining the process for our students to receive their dual credit, and this would allow us to move forward with that. And there are no changes, correct?
I'll move
No
for approval.
change.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes.
Thank you.
The final forms agreement for athletic participation. It's Bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Doty?
Nelson. Sorry, that was loud. Last month, I presented changing to our student athlete database from rank 1 going to final forms. This is a typical agreement. I think there's close to 280 schools in Indiana that are using final forms. It's just a much better format for us, for our coaches, for our athletic department as a whole. And it's close to the same amount of money. It's about $1,200 a year for us in the athletic department. Mr. Lamb, I did talk to Matt Sprout about the IT and got confirmation from him that he looked at it with their folks, and we're clear, everything is good there. So really it's just, it allows us to have a better dashboard, user-friendly with our coaches, and all the physical forms, online registration for our parents, all those things are just housed here in final forms instead of rank 1. It's just a better format for us. That's all it is. Seeking your approval.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes.
Thank you.
The Care Solace Service Agreement.
Yes, President Nelson, thank you. We presented this at the last meeting. Again, just as a reminder, the conversation at the legislative session, there was a heavy focus in many of the committees on mental health and mental health community resources. This resource we're asking to pilot August through October of this coming school year for 3 months using available funds in our referendum dollars. This is meant to be a bridge for both staff and students and families. So this is a way for them to access the resources in our community.
So you said that's for employee and student?
Correct.
Okay.
Do we have a measure of success for that 3 months? I mean, is there a chance that we're going to continue on with this? So what, at the end of that 3 months, what would be the criteria to say yes or no that we're going to go forward? Come up here, please.
So I think that we would look at usage, so how many families are utilizing it, how many staff are utilizing it, and then also how many of our counselors and mental health support team are making referrals on behalf of students and families. So I don't think that we've identified necessarily a threshold, like a percentage that we're looking at. Dr. Worland and I can absolutely talk about that just to make sure that we're doing our due diligence before we move to a full year's service agreement with them.
Okay.
The other thing I would add to that, Kim, if I will, one of our current struggles is the amount of time it takes for our students to get access to support. So one of the goals from this, correct me if I'm wrong, is we would like to shorten that access time. So if you need support right now and it takes 3 months, can we get that down to 2 weeks?
Right. I remember the presentation that you had the last time. I think it really sounded like a great program, more for the students and the staff to be able to do that. My only concern is just to that point of if students are not able to get to the site or they're having some problem getting to it, right? We ought to figure out pretty quickly what is the roadblock. Is it something that we can overcome? Mm-hmm. And the same thing for what is that measure of success to say that we're going to invest to keep this moving forward. So Absolutely. Just think about it as we go through that in that 3 month that we've got that point to say, yes, it's good, it's what we intended it to be, or no, it hasn't measured up to what we thought it would be.
Absolutely. And I know one part we plan on doing too is I've already created a Google form for a survey so that I can send it out to at least our counselors and mental health support team to see about that reduction of time. Like, is it really helping you? And are our families that you're referring, are they having success in following through with attending the intake and the first appointment, with their provider?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, then I would move for approval.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes. Enrollment study, the Indiana Business Research Center. Tina?
Yes, that's mine. I am requesting approval for an agreement between the Indiana Business Research Center out of IU with FCS, and this would be for an enrollment study. If you recall, we had an enrollment study performed a little over a year ago, and it gave us a good idea of what growth we would see over the next 10 years in our district. But really, we need to drill down into what buildings are going to see growth and how much growth will each building have, and have that fold into our long-term facility plan. So that kind of starts us off as far as building a plan for borrowing, a plan for staffing, and so on. So we really feel like this is an important part of the strategic plan and the work that we have to do over the next few years for the future. Can I answer any questions?
Is this the same company that did last year's study? Or is it different?
No.
Okay.
Dr. Susan Bredvig did that study, and she indicated that she either wasn't able to drill down into the per building number or maybe didn't have the capacity at the time to do it. This group comes highly recommended by Zionsville Community Schools. They've had a study done very similar to what we're looking for.
Any other questions?
No. I'll move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes.
Thank you.
The resolution for refunding of Series 2013 bonds.
We have the opportunity to be able to refund our 2013 bonds. They became recallable in January of this year. And we've had a few discussions about what this might look like. I compare it to refinancing a house and getting a lower interest rate. So Jason probably doesn't agree with that analogy, but in layman's terms, that's kind of what it is. So Jason Tansel from Baker Tilly has joined us. We work very closely with him for his advisement on when and when not to do these type of transactions. So he is here to talk about the positive reasons for a possible refunding.
Thank you, Tina, and good evening. Nice to see you again. Jason Tansel with Baker Tilly. We represent the school corporation as your municipal advisor. And tonight there are resolutions before you to potentially pursue the refunding of the 2013 bonds. And so we are looking at this for interest cost savings. It's important to keep in mind that within the resolutions tonight, the savings estimates are preliminary and they are subject to change based upon the interest rate market, which, as we are all aware, has been a little more volatile than normal. And so the savings being discussed tonight, just take it with a preliminary, subject to change, because we know the market could change, of course, tomorrow. Also, within your resolutions, we are establishing a minimum net present value savings for the school corporation to say we have to hit this savings mark in order to pursue it. And that net present value savings amount is $75,000. And so with that, I know it's on the screen, I think it's within your board packets as well, or your computers. I have a summary of this refunding potential. And so you can see here that we're looking at refunding $7,190,000 of 2013 bonds. And you might be asking why potentially are we looking at refunding this now? And for two reasons. The first reason is that the 2013 bonds had what's called a redemption date, and that redemption date is January 2023. And so we had to wait and to be within 90 days within that date in order to use tax-exempt interest rates. And also, why now is interest rate savings could potentially, the current interest rate market could potentially provide some savings to the school corporation in the form of lower debt service payments. But you can see here that the 2013 bonds were issued with a 4% interest rate. And so on that far right column, you can see that where the interest rate market is today, that's currently 2.91%. So based upon that 2.91% interest rate, we're looking at a net present value savings of just under $100,000 at $97,234. I want to make note here of the number underneath that, the 1.35% of savings per refunded bonds. That's just a simple calculation of the $97,234 divided by the $7,190,000 that's being potentially refunded. And just say that the $75,000 mark is about 1% of refunded bonds, but a typical rule of thumb in order to say, hey, we want to pursue a refunding, is it worth it, is 3%. So I did want to acknowledge that, and I know there's been some discussions at the administration level and as well at the school board level of, we understand this might be below 3%, but if there are savings, we at least want to evaluate it. So the resolutions tonight don't lock in a savings amount today, and they don't say, well, we have to pursue the refunding. Really what the resolution does is it provides the flexibility for the school to pursue it, and we won't pursue it if it's less than $75,000. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has at this time.
If we were to move ahead with this, would it prohibit doing potentially another same action before January 27? Could you do it again?
Great question. We would only be able to refund these bonds once, but we don't have to necessarily refund them, like today. We could, if we have the resolution approved, we could look at refunding this in a few months down the road if interest rates move in our favor. But we would only be able to refund these bonds one time.
Okay.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks.
Okay, the high school chiller and middle school pool air handler contract with Irish Mechanical.
Good evening. This is another one of the deferred maintenance items that's been on our list of projects that we funded with bond issuance back at the end of the year. And Irish Mechanical was the lowest responsive bidder. They were recently, last month I believe, we awarded them a different project. So they come recommended by Schmidt & Associates, and I would recommend we accept their bid and award the contract.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes. And then the exterior wall repairs contract with Wells Masonry and Restoration.
This is another deferred maintenance item, and Wells was one of, I think, 3 bidders, and comes recommended to us by STR. They are ready to begin this work, and so I recommend we award the contract.
Move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes.
Thank you.
Okay, next we will move on to our discussion items. Mr. Sprout will present on the YBOT contract.
I come tonight because we haven't done business with Wi-Fi yet. As we upgrade our wireless to Wi-Fi 6 across our network, we've learned at times that our Wi-Fi has interference. You plug in something to the network, that's all within the wires of the network. With Wi-Fi, you have issues from interference from microwaves, radios, and whatnot. We've done our best with our current version, but we're struggling at this point as we move forward with our Wi-Fi 6 upgrade, and so we looked at tools to help us assess where we're at and the issues we have. As you might expect, somebody might say, I'm going to open a ticket because we have Wi-Fi issues. By the time we get there, the Wi-Fi interferences went away. And so it comes and goes. So it's been somewhat of a struggle to provide the customer service level that we would like to be able to achieve. So we looked at different sensors that we could place around to be able to gather that information so that we're not running, chasing our tails, trying to be able to analyze the issue. YBOT was our winner, and will be our recommendation next month, mainly because they were only one of 2 that expressed interest in the Wi-Fi 6. So as the Chromebooks that we ordered this year are Wi-Fi 6 capable, and the wireless is Wi-Fi 6, that was important. Another component to YBOT that helped us choose them as a vendor is they provide resolution. So not only are they going to say, here's the data, but they're also going to help us figure out what we can do to resolve that. The one thing that really struck out for me was that they have spectrum analyzers. So we can set a device there and be able to see what interference would go with that. And as we move, as industry standard goes from Wi-Fi 6 to Wi-Fi 7 to Wi-Fi 8, I will recommend next month that we go with 5 years. And that's unusual for me. I usually don't recommend that longer duration because technology changes. What's different about YBOT is not only will they continue to improve their software, but as technology changes and radios changes, they will actually send us new hardware. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions related to that. I know it's pretty technology intense, but I'll certainly look forward to providing exceptional customer service for our staff and students. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. The landscape services agreement. Mr. Sewell.
Jeff, could you pull the mic up closer to you? For us, we're getting feedback.
Let's try that. Is that better? Seems really hot, but okay. All right. We currently have 2 vacancies in our grounds services team. They're both part-time positions, and we've had a lot of difficulty filling those positions in the past, and this year has been even more of a challenge in the current job market. What this agreement proposes is to bring in a commercial landscaping company to help us through this current mowing season while we kind of regroup and look towards structure of that team and kind of to pilot the contracting that service. So we're going to continue to look at do we try to staff that team where it needs to be staffed to get everything done, or as a pilot would contracting services be the way to go. So this particular agreement contracts to mow 21 times at our Needham and Webb campus, and that will free up enough time for the rest of our team to cover all of the rest of our campuses. So we'll be glad to answer any questions.
That 21 times, do we need to move this up to an action item so we can get that going now? Or can we wait until the next board meeting?
I have structured it so that it can wait till the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The Bobcat of Indiana Letter of Agreement. Mr. Doty.
Yes, thank you. I want to acknowledge, as you pull that up, you can read through there. We'll get to that here in a second. I just wanted to acknowledge a community member, Derek Lautenbach. He is a sales manager for Bobcat of Indy and has kids that attend Franklin Community Schools. He and I have been talking over the past several months and how can he and Bobcat of Indy give back to the school corporation. Obviously, I said, hey, just give us some money, right? Obviously, but one way for him to really give back to the athletic department is in the use of a UTV for our grounds department there at the high school, and in particular our athletic fields maintenance crew. Ken Sears, who's also one of our assistant coaches for the softball team, he helps take care of the fields. So he would have use of it during the day to help maintain those fields, and then we would also use it in the evening time if we needed to transport elderly people up to the fields, baseball, softball, whatever that may be. So that's how we envision using it. And then this agreement is just really a sponsorship agreement as it's written, and very similar to what we did with Hubler Automotive Group in their sponsorship of the athletic department too. Roger Young and I, we talked. Originally it was written on a sales invoice, and that really didn't fit for what we were trying to accomplish, so we just wrote it up on our letterhead like Hubler Automotive Group did. So there you see it, the language basically just the use of the UTV with the option to buy at the end of 12 months. That allows Bobcat of Indy to depreciate the vehicle down a little bit, makes it more affordable for us if we choose to buy it, but then they just get some sponsorship signage at our athletic venues. And then we just entertain that at the end of the 12 month. We would just look at it again and see if we want to continue with this agreement or possibly purchase the UTV. So that's what it is. Happy to answer any questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you. The Cornerstone MOU.
Yes, President Nelson, thank you. And Kim is here to answer questions, Mrs. Sperling. A Cornerstone, and Roger has reviewed this MOU, the services they provide are similar to Adult and Child, the Bowen Center. You've heard us talk about those supports before. Cornerstone helps us fill the gaps for those students and families that still aren't getting the services that they need. This is not a Franklin Schools paying money. This is not we're not exchanging money with them from Franklin Schools. It's a similar partnership to the other two that we've already brought before the board. Kim, do you have anything to add?
I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. It's actually Centerstone and not Cornerstone.
Thank you.
Other than that, everything Brooke said is exact. It's just to solidify a partnership between us and Centerstone.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for calling it out.
It's correct on the MOU, so that's good.
Exactly. So how is this different than the Care Solace?
So Centerstone is a community-based provider. So what would actually happen is Centerstone could be added into a provider that Care Solace offers our families and our students. But they're completely separate entities in the sense that Care Solace is not actually providing any mental health support. It's a bridge, and it helps bridge that gap between identifying services in the community.
Gotcha.
Centerstone actually provides therapy. They have an office in Greenwood, but they are wanting to actually come and provide services on our campus to our students, just to help remove that transportation barrier for many of our families.
Okay. Any other questions? No. All right. Thank you. Any public comments on discussion items? And then we'll move on to any board comments. Administrative comments.
Yes, I just have a couple. One is, I think you are aware of an upcoming C9 meeting that President Nelson she represents all of us on that board. There's been a lengthy discussion about the budget, and I wrote about it in Friday notes. Tina and I have had long conversations about it, and at this time I would recommend that President Nelson vote no on their budget, because what they're asking for is over 11% increase. And as you saw from us, we are only going to get 4.2% of new money. There was a subcommittee that met, and that subcommittee had extensive conversation about looking at the different reasons why it did go up. They did provide some justification, and I think you all received a copy of that. But really the most significant one is if you look at the average of all the 8 schools that feed into Central Lyon, the average increase would be about 6%. That seems reasonable, and I will tell you that in the conversations today through email with the other superintendents back to C9, that seems to be a consensus conversation point. But I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that, because President Nelson will be going up and having this opportunity for board comments and board votes on the upcoming budget. They're on a fiscal year, unlike us on a calendar year, so that's where their budget is also coming into play right now, ahead of our budget calendar and those type things. So I'd be happy to any questions, or you can obviously talk to President Nelson. She's been very attuned to this. I know they had one work session already on this. We did have a board session as well, and then a subcommittee session.
So I did talk to Dr. Kovach today after school, and they're going back to the drawing board. We will not be voting on this on Thursday. They're not
Say
gonna
that
push
again?
it.
I couldn't hear you.
We're not going to be voting on this on Thursday. They're going back because there are several other schools that have come forward and said we're going to vote no, and so they're like, we're not going to bring it to the board on Thursday. We're going to go back to the drawing board and rework our numbers.
Good.
So,
Thank
you.
The other one, go ahead.
In their process, do they come back to the CFOs for the supporting schools, much like we have to go to the state to validate our numbers?
No.
So is there a way that we can have some sort of check like that so we don't get into this situation? I mean, you know, we had the price tag for the expansion, which they need to expand, right? They're offering good programs for our students, but there's got to be some check in that process, right? We can't afford to write these big checks without some sort of evaluation, making sure that you know what's available.
Yeah, I mean, even a preliminary, if they would have sent the CFOs the preliminary budget that they were going to propose, they would have known early on they were going to get some pushback.
Right.
So it might have helped everybody involved.
As you know, they meet with the superintendents as a subcommittee in counseling group, but that's really what it is. We suggested that, actually. We suggested having CFO, and Tina told me, make sure I go in and ask difficult questions. I asked such difficult questions, I volunteered for her to be on the committee. But we all thought the same thing, Andy, that there need to be another stop in there. As you know, through our systems review and analysis, we look at the best decision for us, and it may not be the easiest decision. You know, I discussed our circuit breaker loss. They've never in 14 years ever had to be impacted by our circuit breaker loss. And as you know, we're over $3 million every year. So we talked about that. So I do believe that in the future, you're going to see a different iteration of that. Unfortunately, the first time that we received notice of an increase was the day before the superintendent's meeting, and I walked down to Tina's office and said, "Guess what? I'm hearing it's 11. It's going to be over 10%. It's going to be 11%." And she's like, "What?" And then that's when we all got to hear about it, and that's when the superintendents all basically said the same thing. I think also if you look at some different modeling at this time, the way that C9 is funded is how it was funded from the very beginning. And they didn't have circuit breaker. They didn't have the operating, impacts and the ceilings that we presently have. It really is time for us to rethink that model. And actually, Beech Grove Superintendent Dr. Hammock suggested a subcommittee on that, looking at that. For example, Rise Learning Center, which we're going to come to you probably next month with conversation about having our students join Rise. As you know, it's kind of pay to play. And those would be similar opportunities that would be good for both sending schools and receiving schools. So there's definitely an opportunity there. I hope that they take advantage of it, and I agree with you, Andy, that the CFOs who are intimately involved in the business side of this are involved. Mr. Rayhouse does attend principal meetings for C9 on the curricular aspects, as well as Mr. Powers represents the guidance department, student service activities, but I do not believe they get into money at all. Do you, Mr. Rayhouse? No. So those are conversations we can definitely have that we need to.
Well, I'm all for bringing the teacher salaries up,
yep.
And the support staff salaries up. But just like at Franklin, we couldn't do it all in 1 year, right? We had to have a plan to get us to where we're at today. And I think that we still have some room for growth today. So, for them to come in with 11%, I'm sorry, we got to look at our budgets and what's available. And yeah.
Well, and on the support staff side, I think some of the raises were up to like 27%, but yet they didn't have a peer review or any kind of market analysis to justify those salaries. So my guess is we would have then been competing with them for support staff. So a little ironic.
Well, thank you, President Nelson, for being a part of that journey and the conversation. C9 is an important part for our students and their opportunities they get out of that. We just need to make sure that it's equitable for everybody because of the things that we have to do here. Flipping the switch to a celebratory note, graduation is next Saturday on the 20th. Mr. Rayhouse is asking for us to be there by about 9:15. You are going to be up on the stage, and I believe Steve said that Friday they're going to practice. If anybody would like to come up and see kind of where we're going to be, you're more than welcome to come to practice on Friday, or even get there even earlier and walk out and see that. The order for handing out the diplomas will be alphabetical, and if you do need to shake somebody else's hand, you can quickly intercede, shake their hand, and then step back out and move forward, but otherwise we'll just keep the kids moving. I believe the photographers are at our desire. Is that right, Mr. Rayhouse? You guys tell them where you want them. So if like last time, I think there's a little bit of confusion where you guys were getting pictures and the kids were either running by you or whatever. We just need to make sure kind of the desire you want, and then from the high school's perspective where it best fits, and then we'll get those in there.
Starts at 10?
It starts at 10. Mr. Rayhouse, are there any other items I need to review on that? I know one will come up about weather, and that is we're gonna try to make it all on Saturday. Is that correct? And if worst case, it would then go to Sunday. So we're gonna try to get everything in at that time. So, all are welcome to attend, and it should be a very fun day. So 9:15. Jake, I know you and I talked about the cap and gown. I think Natalie was going to make sure that got taken care of today, so I think we should be good.
Great.
Okay. Do we have anything else, Edmund? All right, thank you.
else, and I move for adjournment. Thank you, everyone.